Hi, Eric Johnson at Vanderbilt's Owen Graduate School of Management, and I'm here today with Steve Buchanan. Steve is president of Opry Entertainment Group and a senior vice president at Ryman Hospitality Properties, and we're just so glad to have you here today.
It's my pleasure.
Well, you know, you've had this amazing career. I know a little bit about it, but when you think about leaving Owen and starting into Gaylord, you've had a lot of different roles at Gaylord. Can you tell us a little bit about that path?
Yeah, I started as marketing manager. I was the first marketing manager. After 60 years, they decided that they needed somebody in the marketing area, and so I started doing the marketing and then took over running the ticketing operation. And then ultimately was promoted to be the general manager of the Ryman Auditorium and oversaw the renovation of the Ryman, and then really brought it back to life for the first shows that had been in it in 20 years and as an attraction. And did that for 5 years, and then was promoted to be president of the group and oversaw the Grand Ole Opry, the Ryman Auditorium, Wild Horse Saloon, General Jackson, which is a showboat, and the golf course and the radio station.
And the Ryman, I mean, is such a wonderful treasure for Nashville. What's the backstory? How did it come to life again after all those years?
The Ryman closed in March of 1974 when the Opry moved to the Opry House out on Pennington Bend and Bradley Parkway, and it was in disrepair.
Was it sitting vacant pretty much?
It was pretty much sitting vacant. People could ultimately tour through it, and people would pay. When I started with the company in 1985, the people paid a couple of dollars to tour through it, and occasionally television productions would shoot in there, but it was not considered fit for occupancy. That you really couldn't hold an event in it, But in 1991, I helped facilitate a project that Emmylou Harris wanted to do with Emmylou Harris and the Nash Ramblers, and so we recorded basically a live album there, and shot a DVD with that, shot a video with it, and then the next year in May of 1992, I organized a centennial celebration for the Ryman. It had opened in May of 1892.
Wow.
And I, my thought was to bring attention once again to this incredible venue, and at the same time, people were looking at how do we bring downtown Nashville back to life. And a few months later, the company made the commitment to say, we want to renovate the Ryman, and at the same time that the investment was made in building the Wild Horse.
Did it surprise you, the public reaction, and just how it's been embraced as it has?
I put together the first business plans, and just kind of with a lot of guesswork. And yes, we were very pleased and happy that people, were very anxious to come see shows again there. I thought it was really important that we do a really diverse programming slate, and so from rock shows to country shows and classical music and bluegrass. We did a bluegrass series, and because it had become so identified specifically with the Opry, that it really was important that people realize that this is a place where all sorts of music had been performed previously, and also that was a great place for theater. We were doing always Patsy Cline, which is a musical.
Yeah, and some Christian music, Sam's Place, all these kind of things. Yeah. Back to its church roots, I guess, as it were.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now, most excitingly, the last 6 years you've been working on the Nashville television series.
Right.
And that's a story all in itself. I'm sure we could talk for hours about, but tell us a little bit about it, and maybe a memorable moment from that last 6 years.
Yeah, I was approached by an agency in Los Angeles that was interested in doing something that was more of a period piece around the Opry, and wanted to know if they could represent us. And really, they thought of it as a film project, and I said sure, but I have this idea for a television show. So if we can work on that, then let's work on both of those things simultaneously. And so ultimately, and pitched the idea of Nashville, and wanted it to be a show where it really showed what the music industry is like in Nashville, and sort of the behind the scenes look at things, and to really properly tell the story, and to include live performance in that.
The music.
The music was very much a part of it. And I felt like that there were so many things, so many factors that were pointing to that this was something that could work. And ultimately it did. It hasn't necessarily been easy, but we've been able to do 6 seasons, and it really has done quite well, literally around the world.
That's neat. A memorable moment from the last 6 years? I'm sure there's so many, right? It's hard to
I
pin
think
one
that
down.
it ultimately, the memorable moments for me have been when we shot the pilot, being in the Opry House, and those performances that we did there, and the backstage scenes. I watched the pilot again recently, and I was just kind of blown away by what a great script it was. Callie Curry wrote an incredible script, and a guy named R.J. Cutler directed it, and they both did a phenomenal job, which I think had a lot to do with us getting the pickup in the first place. And then we just wrapped production of our 6th season, and we did that at the Ryman Auditorium. So it was just a really sweet moment to be able to be in
Full
the
circle.
Ryman, to be in the Ryman for what is essentially the last scene of the last episode.
That's neat. And being an executive producer, that was a new role for you.
It was a new role for scripted. I mean, I had executive produced television projects that were for the Opry, really around live performance.
Yeah.
But I had never done anything with a scripted project, and it's quite different.
Yeah.
I learned a lot.
That's great. Yeah. Well, I was wondering if you could share a leadership lesson, since you've been in many different roles since your time as an MBA student here at Vanderbilt, and done lots of different things. Share a leadership lesson that you've learned along the way.
I think that it's really important to listen to your team, and to hire well. I feel like that my success ultimately has been predicated on those that I've surrounded myself with, and that they've contributed at least equally, possibly more, and it makes all the difference in the world. And the other thing that I also, to listen to them, but also to be willing to pivot. That it's important to be strategic and thoughtful with what you do, but also be willing to adjust and make changes. And I think sometimes people sort of think they see themselves as being on a certain path, and they're ignoring the signals that are telling them that possibly
it's time to change.
Yes, it's time to zig a bit. So.
Well, thanks so much for spending the day with us at Vanderbilt.
Sure, my pleasure. Thank you.